From the battle-hardened armor of Tamriel to the embroidered robes of Baldur's Gate, brace yourself for a magnificent fashion show with the groundbreaking extravaganza that would never withstand any actual battle. Have you ever looked at a video game outfit and thought, this one looks stunning on my character, but it would never work in real life? Or to take it even further, let's make a cosplay anyway. Well, I have been there, and I regret almost nothing. My name is Fjalladis, and I've been a cosplayer for around about 17 years. I recently started a new career in media computer science, so hopefully one day I will be able to design my own in-game clothing. Until then, let's have a look at the practicality of some in-game clothing, including the Elder Scrolls series and many more. In my last video about game design, we have concluded that an outfit is not only meant to be aesthetically pleasing, but also contains information on the wearer and the situation. Further, it plays a huge role for the immersion and can also be altered to the player's personal taste. We can go even further by saying that video game outfits contain a certain coding that every gamer will understand, such as robes for the mages, big armors for the tanks. You might say, well, that is pure realism. The tank needs to sustain physical attacks, but the mage stands behind the battle lines, healing and casting from a distance. In general, this is true, but if I was a sorceress, I would feel safer with some additional protection around my body, just in case I did not catch that arrow mid-air. It also works the other way around. Biggest armor is not necessarily the best protecting garment, so we're talking about canon here, not realism. When just looking at it, you might not be able to judge the advantages and disadvantages of a certain outfit, but as a cosplayer, you will realize them soon, either at the first fitting or at the next convention. My Elder Scrolls Online armor looks quite slender and not impeding, but I could not even bend forward to close my own shoes. As a conclusion, the outfits that we link to certain classes or professions might not be a direct product of realism, but more of certain guidelines and codes that are followed by all media of a certain genre. This doesn't mean that there is no realism at all. Let's take a deep dive. So you managed to decide on a class to play, and you already have a build in mind. What is important to you when it comes to your in-game outfit? Certainly, the stats play a role, which brings us to their main function in-game. Stats do not only mean simple numbers on physical armor rating, but can also include special perks or other shenanigans. Unfortunately, you are not done once you acquire the perfect set. Oh no, this is where the grinding begins, because you want to keep that status quo. Every 2 levels, you should collect or craft a new one. Why do you need a new set of armor every few levels? Because game devs want to keep you busy. This also introduces you to the different professions, but can this also be justified with realism? Scenario 1. There is a minimum level to wear that set. Many games work with that limitation, but most do not give you an explanation for it. I can imagine that you get stronger and can carry more armor pieces that will protect you better. Scenario 2. You do not own enough money to buy the best set in the beginning. This is both simple and realistic, but often this plays only a minor role. Scenario 3. In games that require you to craft the armor pieces yourself, you need to advance in certain professions first. As a cosplayer, I can confirm that you should not start your sewing adventure with silk fabric. However, I still cannot see a reason why a silken robe is safer than a linen one. To conclude, the grinding for better armor stats can only partly be justified with realism, and is more likely linked to extending the playtime and giving you some happy chemicals whenever reaching the next tier. After all that grind, you finally get that one set fit for a king or queen. Clothing has always been an important way of showing your wealth and social status, both in game and in history, and it is still today, although we base the value more on labels than actual quality. Let us compare some customs from the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. As you can see, the Jarl has a lot of embroidery on colorful fabrics and jewelry, while the lesser inhabitants are dressed in a more practical way that focuses on their profession. Even without knowing much about the deep lore of a game's universe, You get it, because it fits into this nice little box called realism. Interestingly, we can acquire most of these during our adventure. And this is where realism comes to an end. Nobody will judge us if we run around dressed as a guard or the Jarl's lost twin. Other games take a different approach. As I already mentioned in my last video, Kingdom Come Deliverance has an interesting armor system, and the NPCs behave different if you are dressed as a knight or have torn clothing. But that example is not exclusive. In the Elder Scrolls Morrowind, which is over 20 years old, people will also react to your outfit. For example, if you're better dressed than during your last meeting. And it even sets boundaries. For wearing the holy armor, you will get punished by the gods. Of course, nobody wants to be super restricted when it comes to their in-game clothing, especially if they already have to follow a dress code in real life. But on the other hand, implementing some regulations could add to the immersion, so there's some huge potential. Knowing that NPCs will not react to the latest fashion you present to them, maybe it's time to go online and play some MMORPGs. Here, you can show off your shiny new armor. I feel like it's too late for me to start a grind on World of Warcraft, and we already talked about the Elder Scrolls Online. But you might have heard about the MMO New World. It had about 1 million players in the opening phase. All the players will always decode the information of your outfit. This might start at the class you play and the time you invested in your equipment, but they will also notice if you completed a certain quest line or took part in an event and got a special skin or item for that. It is not like in World of Warcraft, but I connect happy memories with these items and sets. Some outfits might not need a special quest or achievement, but can be purchased with the help of real-life money. You can now hide your heavy armor under a light silken dress. And this is the point where you will search for realism and only stare into an empty purse. However, the market for skins is super important for the finances of many modern games. To sum it up, skins tell you more about the amount of money a player has invested into the game than about his character. Let me know in the comments below if you think that skins might destroy the realism and immersion of a game, or whether you actually like the additional possibilities to dress your character. There are not only some unwritten rules on classes, but also on gender that we either make up in the game's universe or mirror from our own world. Of course, it would be super easy to produce a 15-minute rant on overly sexualized armor. However, I think that there are already enough videos on that topic. Instead, let's focus on the small aspects that are often flying under the radar. I cannot stop thinking about making myself an Isabella cosplay from New World, so I spent quite some time looking at all the details. Did you notice her shoes that are more fit for a catwalk than actual fighting? Well, my guildmates didn't, meaning that I did not even perceive it as disturbing or unrealistic. I also want to leave a quick note on the hairstyle. Open hair is quite impractical when it comes to fighting. I wonder if both the shoe and hair problem have something to do with our perception of female beauty and the fragility of their bodies. Anyway, this is not limited to one game. I don't want to take a deep dive into the beauty discussion, but these slender and unrealistic body shapes give me a headache. Historic armor is not that tight-fitting. In contrast to this, video game designers don't need to care about practicality. Textures can simply glide into each other, but your body can't. Trust me, I am a cosplayer. I built that stuff and found it out the hard way. To sum it up, female custom design is especially at risk to be unrealistic, since the armor is often more tight-fitting than men's armor. In addition, we have very high beauty standards that can easily be achieved with a slider in-game, but are not realistic in real life. But isn't it practical that all the looted armor will automatically adjust to the body size and gender of your character? You found it on a huge male orc and want to fit it on your tiny Khajiit lady? There you go. I wish it was that easy when it comes to fitting my own cosplays. Let's have a closer look on armor from Skyrim on two different characters. While the malus on protection is easy to spot on the female cleavage, Both are in trouble if hit at the arms. Further, sharp blades might not be the only dangerous thing luring in Skyrim's open world. Just think about the low temperature indicated by the snowy mountains. Since I already made this exact armor as a cosplay and did a photo shoot in Sweden, I am the right one to judge the insulation potential. So we need to search for a game that really punishes you for exposing your character to a harsh climate. What about Valheim? The game features different biomes, such as snowy mountains. You will quickly find out that going there is a bad decision, since every painful second will damage you. You either need a protective potion or the fur coat. Finally, some realism, but only to a certain extent, since you can basically be naked under the coat. The temperatures also limit the access to the area in the early game. Therefore, this aspect of realism is deeply rooted in the overall game design, and is not only a bonus feature or a later addition. Consequently, game developers should decide at an early point where the various aspects of realism could fit into their game. We already found out that there are games that contain special gear sets for special occasions. However, we don't want to run around with a suitcase containing 20 different sets for every possible situation. So let's make a checklist with the desired features to find the one perfect all-rounder set. Since there is no guaranteed companion, we should be able to take it off and on by ourselves. Some games contain mounts, others don't, so best have a gear set that is light enough to walk in it, but also enables us to sit in a saddle. Speaking about the lightweight, this comes in handy if you want to just pass a river or lake. But we also want the best protection possible, so we need to add at least a helmet. It's a shame this will destroy all the work we spend in the character creation. As we travel around, we will encounter different biomes. The next fast travel stone might bring us back into a completely different surrounding, so why start caring? I'm sure by now everyone got the point. If the situations are not realistic at all, there is no existing outfit that could meet the requirements. Video games are a long chain of intriguing events, often without time to change the equipment. But if we had to design an outfit nevertheless, I would say it should involve a lot of layers and can at least be adjusted to some extent. Of course, this would need a completely different approach to the character loadout, more like in Kingdom Come Deliverance. History can provide a lot of inspiration when it comes to realistic armor designs. Of course, this doesn't mean that historical fashion as a whole has always been super practical, but taking away the quick save button may change the way in which you dress yourself. It might be devastating to realize that there will never be 100% of realism when it comes to outfits in games. However, this video doesn't need to end on a sour note. There are so many features that can be included to make the outfits look a little bit more realistic. First, there should be as many options to choose from as possible to individualize your armor and enhance the RPG effect. Each can come with different pros and cons. Second, metal armor should be linked to a disadvantage in stealthy situations. The same should apply for white clothing that will reflect moonlight and is not helpful in hiding. Sorry, assassins! Speaking about white garb, did you ever try to get rid of a bloodstain on light fabric? Maybe outfits should be more suited for the task than for the visuals. Interestingly, dyeing your outfit is already part of many games, but not implemented in a realistic way. This also leads to the next point. Repairing and caring for your armor should be part of the game. It does not need to be very detailed, but should be included in some way. Next, add some layering. You don't want to wear metal armor on your bare skin, and even leather clothing feels nicer if some sort of fabric can take care of the sweat and body oils. Last but not least, give us some realistic underwear. These straps of fabric are not helpful, nor are they pretty. My interpretation is that many games are intimidated by everything linked to naked bodies and sexuality. There are countless more options that can be implemented, and this video is not able to cover all games ever released. So take it as a starting point and look for realistic custom design when playing your individual favorite games. In the end, there's no ideal solution. Every gamer has a different opinion, and you will never be able to please all of them. Maybe you have a different perspective and want to share it in the comments below, which would make me very happy. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've already seen my first video talking about historical accuracy in video games. If not, check it out and make sure to subscribe so that you will not miss any future projects. See you!